deny that, that because this conventional reality, we are already subject of this conventional reality. So no matter how fancy things you talk about, fancy ideas you have, if you deny this one single manifestation, then you are completely denying the ultimate truth of the ultimate source. Because total respect to the ultimate truth should be total respect to the relative truth. Total respect to the spirit is total respect to the form. So the form needed to be respected. So I think the tantric practices, or many of these practices, is about figuring out together. Definitely, these technology, in short, all these, so far many technologies developed, especially like biofeedback technology, I think all of their contribution to the spiritual practice and Tantra.
In my study, I moved to Tantra after having some spiritual sort of awakening in my life, coming from the scientific background, the academic background, into a study where initially the world is seen as an illusion or Maya. And then later on being sent to the study of Tantras because I felt like that there was something still missing from seeing the world as Maya. I still felt that I wanted to be creatively engaged in the world. Mm-hmm. And the quest of what my creative dharma was not known at the time. But it was a painful process to discover that. And that led me to Tantra. So maybe the question I would like to pose here perhaps is, what to you is Tantra?
Well, Tantra, you can define many different ways. For us, we use word ngak. Ngak, in Tibetan word, we say Tantra in Sanskrit. So Tantra is the ngak, or Tantra is the path of transformation. So there's three principal paths: path of renouncing, path of transformation, and path of liberation. So we say Panglam, Jurlam, Trulam. So these three things, and Tantra is path of transformation. What does that mean? Is you don't completely let it be. That means there is energy there existing. That energy, particular energy, can interfere another existing energy unless they are able to balance and work out. So it has to do with the awareness of the energy and working with the energy and transforming that energy into a higher energy. So basically, the negative energy into a positive energy, anger into a love, aggression into a peace, sadness into a joy, personality into a non-personality liberation. In that sense, it's about transformation. So that's the word, what Tantra means. But how you do that, so there is whole work in the body, physical level. So when you're doing physical yoga, postures and movements and breath and visualizations and all those different elements, even the gazes, how you gaze, it's a different energy. So you're trying to change the energy in order to balance that energy with something else, but it's not working. So even as simple as gaze, if you're sitting this kind of position and you're falling asleep, you sit this kind of position, you gaze up, energy immediately changes. If you lie down, you might likely fall asleep. If you sit upward position, you might be more clear. Also, it's all about understanding, and working and transcending the energy which is destructive to a more supportive energy. So that's mainly what Tantra is.
Okay, thank you. So I'll try to keep going to the heart of it. If I had one question, because we have a shorter time, because these themes are so deep. In our normal experience, there is a separation, even as spiritual seekers, between what is internal as a transcendent realm or the realm of infinite potentiality, and what appears in form as our lives here as humans or another being. And I'm finding in my path that Tantra is allowing me to remove those boundaries as to how I segregate what is external and what is internal. And there is a continuous integration. If that was the tantric path, so to speak, then is there, one question I would have is there a sort of a divine vision in which forms are evolving in some way, so to speak?
So, first of all, like if you think about human samsaric realm, you have human realm, you have animal, you have many other beings. So if you look at a human being, we are also evolving. It's not like we, in terms of physical changes and psychological changes, even formation of even brain neuroplasticity. It is nothing frozen and stuck. So it's always evolving. And whatever present condition is, whatever the present form that we exist in, it is also, there could be a situation where it's optimal, it's okay, or it's deteriorating itself. So that means if it's deteriorating itself, means something energetically is not able to figure out. It's able to maintain is good, but that's not good enough. You have to evolve continuously, even physically, psychologically, and spiritually. So that ability to evolve continuously is the work of the energy. So somehow, I think Tantra is that understanding and continuously evolving. So as I said earlier, it's about transformation. It's not being stuck in what is manifesting, but what is manifesting is continuously evolve, ultimately realize every manifestation, it's in the end, it's nothing more than the nature is source nature. So it's every manifestation is nothing more than just nothing, space, or it's nothing more than it's just a pure energy. No matter how many labels you put into it, no matter how many value you put into it, no matter how many so all these things, what we're doing, particularly in the modern society, total illusion over illusion, 1,000 layers of illusions. No matter how many layers of illusion you put, it's nothing more than just a pure space and energy and consciousness. So Tantra is always, we say Dzogchen is always kind of understanding, tracing back, trying to understand the source of the truth.
Thank you so much. And the way I'm interpreting what you've just shared is that, because often as I was sharing, there are certain schools where there is a repulsiveness towards cosmology or creation, so to speak. It's like, okay, we the idea, and I'm not very familiar with this term, but Arhat versus the Bodhisattva, where the Arhat is completely, in a very superficial way, detached, in my understanding, superficial understanding, detached, where the Bodhisattva seems much more involved. And I feel like maybe there is a subtle pessimism versus optimism.
So as long as you are, in a very practical sense, like yourself and myself, so we can talk about the source being nothing, source being just pure space, pure consciousness, pure light. But we are born in a form. We are born in a particular shape. We are subject to sickness, birth, death, all the challenges. So when you are born in this is the manifestation of duality, which is we have manifested. So you, in this process, you always have this opportunity to work with it. So you can optimize in everything. You can optimize your awareness, optimize your love, compassion, your health, your sleep, your mood, your psychological state. You can optimize all those things. You cannot deny that. That because this conventional reality, we are already subject of this conventional reality. So no matter how fancy things you talk about, fancy ideas you have, if you deny this one single manifestation, then you are completely denying the ultimate truth of the ultimate source. Because total respect to the ultimate truth should be total respect to the relative truth. Total respect to the spirit is total respect to the form. So the form needed to be respected. So I think the tantric practices, or many of these practices, is about figuring out together. Because, So I think it's sometimes there is, like many times, tradition coming from a very rich tradition, like Buddhism, Hinduism, and all the rich traditions. There is a chance of having everything becoming a little more mental understanding, not conscious awakening, not practical applications. So I think what is the good about being in the West, this knowledge, is really trying to find that integration, because they need to meet somewhere, and that meeting is fundamental. It might not be perfect meeting. The closer is better. The farther is divided. Basically means you're dividing the mind and the body. If you divide science and spirituality, then it's like a division of body and the mind, body and the spirit. Because science is so much. I think it's a body, it's a form. I mean, no matter any time when they say they're doing anything, they're always, measuring their glucose level, sugar level, or temperature level, or heart rate, or brain wave, or they're measuring some movement and activity. That all has something to do with the body. But we're trying to talk here something beyond that. So that beyond that, and being in the body, they has to match together. They have to come together. Yes. And they contribute together to a lot of things, yeah.
Yes, and I see you as a champion of this integration, because you have been involved and you're so passionate about studying using the latest technologies and collaborating with scientists.
I will not say myself as a champion. I will definitely say myself as a very curious and exploring and self-experimenting and committed to it and working hard on it. And and I think that not only myself, I think everybody should do that, because it's just basically idea of sleep, for example. So it's very clear in tantric practices, sleep yoga is very important. Dream yoga is very important. One of them, two main things. As far as if you divide practice of the day and practice of the night. So in the practice of the night is the sleep and dream, two main things. And they are both as far as Tantrism is concerned, they're both connected. They're both linked to each other. There's a connection. They contribute to each other. They support each other. So in the West, and science is kind of catching up with it. If you think about all the practice, even the REM, rapid eye movement, is discovered in the 50s. So that's not that long ago. Before nobody knew about REM sleep or something like that. Or now they're talking about 4 different stages of this sleep stages. Now they think there's only 3 stages. So you see, so in Tantric, in this ancient knowledge, these are already discussed at length. But in the ancient time, you listen to them, you hear them, you're trying to apply them, and you don't know how you're doing or you're not doing. At least you have some sense. You might have the great yogis and meditators. They might have some awareness, but there's no physical measurement. But nowadays, and this, for example, this little device, Whoop, it gives you so much data, and that is clearly valuable data. It talking about your temperature of the body, talking about your HRV, heart rate variability, your resting heart rate, your respiratory rate, how long you slept, how long you've been sleeping in REM sleep and deep sleep, and all those information are very important, and they change all the time, and you have to find optimal level from the point of view of these kind of devices. How do you have optimal level? It every single day is your behavior. Little thing every day your behavior will show that night, show you that morning that you did not do something right. I was just playing tennis with a friend of mine. He said he cannot imagine not eating dinner. He eats late, and he was saying he ate so much he was even feeling a vomiting. He said, I said, how you can do that, But people do that. People do all the time, very self-destructive behaviors.
Yeah.
So what does that mean from the practice point of view? You are subject to physical conditions. Lack of 1 hour sleep. They say like when the daylight saving, when the night gets shorter, 1 hour getting shorter, next day 24% more heart attacks, just because of 1 hour sleeping less, or that anxiety related with the heart attack, 24% more. So these are facts.
Yes.
And somehow our practices should able to comprise. So personally, I know, like sometimes I know my physical behavior, how much these are impacts. Now, from Tantric point of view, it will be good to, I can eat not to be affected, or I would do certain things, I will have exposed to the noise, not be affected. I will have a challenging situation, not be affected. So idea will be not to run away from any of these situations, but the key is not to be affected by these situations. Because we get affected by them. So physically we can get affected by them. More importantly, psychologically we affected by them. So trying to find a way that your mind is not getting impact by this situation, even your body is doing it. And eventually your body should not be affected by it because your mind is guiding it, protecting it. So that, I think, kind of interesting work of the future. For example, many times nowadays, many of these devices, bottom line is it's escape. I was just given the other day, another air plug, which it has a noise cancellation, and it has a soothing sounds like a river, creek, and things like that. So basically you wear it whole night. And so I tried a few times. So if you listen to it, it's a noise you're listening to it. I mean, it's a beautiful sound you're listening to it, but it's also a noise. So, but if somebody is making a noise, your dog is making a noise, you get mad at. If your child is making a noise, you get mad at. But if you're creating an artificial sound, you call it a soothing sound, is the interpretation of your mind. But you can interpret the same way that the dog or the child or whatever. Every sound is the sound of the mantra. Every image is image of divine. Every thought is the thought of wisdom. If that is clearly understood and realized, then You don't have to create all these devices for the purpose of escaping. Because you know how to integrate with them. No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe to connect that with tantric sadhana, I've noticed that as I've been doing this sadhana, I have become more refined. What I was saying, the exploration of creativity, my ear has become attuned to classical music. I became interested in that. I've been studying that. Mantras, sometimes I hear a mantra and I know that I need to add it as part of my sadhana. At times, without looking at the full moon, I can kind of start feeling that we're approaching there. And then technology is very useful because it seems like my senses are not refined, but I can see the potential at sadhana, that the lunar cycle, the solar cycles, and perhaps even the astrological cycles, we have the capacity to sense them.
Sure.
Until I feel like, till I evolve to that point, these technologies are pretty powerful.
Useful, yes, absolutely. But I do think that since I'm using them, no, I have not been using very long time now, it's only a couple of months. But clearly, some point you wanted to learn kind of your senses to develop in a way that you can almost read it by yourself. Because this helps you to how to read it with your intuition, your sense. At some point, I think it's good to not to do it, but everything you have learned from it as lifestyle change, behavior changes, you keep them. But as far as the result is concerned, not every morning, get up and look at them, but just feel. You can feel it because sometimes it's a different. You might have only 6 hours of sleep. You can feel very great. And then you look at the device, you say, okay, well, I have a long REM and deep sleep within that 6 hours. Or sometimes you have 8 hours of sleep, and you look at, you're still grumpy and you're tired, you're not in a good mood. And you look at, you did not have a good recovery, or you did not have a deep sleep, enough deep sleep. So it's ability to sense your own body, your own mind, I think for sure is the key, not to be so much, nowadays, some of the IT people, they almost, they depend on these measurement from outside devices so much so that kind of loses their own ability to sense. They lose their intuition, their sense of themselves, and in internal what's happening. It's like nowadays people don't know how to write calligraphy, like everybody typing everything. It's like kind of we are losing some things by technology, but I think technology should help to build more intuition and sense of self because it gives you the mirror.
Yes. And maybe this is an important point. Is one thing I feel is that the bifurcation between science and spirituality is sort of artificial because it didn't always exist, and a lot of the scientific ideas and breakthroughs come from deeper states of intuition, dream, and we can create this artificial dogma that they are very separate, but in fact they're not. A lot of the states that are cultivated in spiritual sadhana are necessary.
Sure. I think it definitely, these technology, in short, all these so far many technologies developed, especially like biofeedback technology. I think all of their contribution to the spiritual practice and tantra.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So maybe connecting it to back to the lineages and some of these civilizations. Whereas when I study Tantra and look at some of these mantras and some of the views of reality that Tantra provides with practice manuals, which is very unique, that it's not just a theory, but you have a practice manual to have some sort of realization. It just boggles my mind at times as to historically that such advanced capacities of humans were present even in the past. So maybe in Tibetan lineage and also in Indian tantras, the initial dispensation of the tantras have happened through mind transmission, and then later on oral, and then finally through written. And this is connected with, and you're the expert on this, but I feel this is connected with, at least in Indian cosmology, the yugas and the cycles. So I was just wondering, is that, do you think that we also in our time and age can develop these capacities to have that level of insights from the universe?
Sure, I think so. I mean, at least we should try. Like that. As I saying, technology should help build intuition, not lose intuition. Same way, so for mind-to-mind transmission, it's that the ability to, and not even a transmission, even the more important than transmission is your sense of self. Your sense of self is your sense of self. I mean, how do you experience your sense of self, right? Rather than, so that would be like a mind transmission. Your sense of self will be your own inner state. The next step will be, if you don't have that, if you don't know who you are, people will tell you who you are. Then now you're subject to opinion of other people's perception of yourself. Because you're going to be dependent on them, because you have no idea who you are. So then you have some curious about who you are, and then since I don't know who I am, so I will listen to other people, whatever other people tell, and then there are a lot of people, unfortunately, who tell you your worst sense of self, what you cannot do, how bad you are, and all those things. Then you identify with them, right? That's the second level. Like, it's like oral transmission. You talk about the mind. I'm doing the same metaphor. That's oral perception of what people label you. Worst part, people don't even care about what oral other people think. There's no relationship. They only care about what certificate they have. It's a piece of paper that says you have qualification. You are number 1 lawyer. You are number 2 lawyer. You are number 3 lawyer. That piece of paper becomes identity. So identity is clearly defined by some piece of paper, a documentation. It's not even relationship with people. For sure, it's nothing to do with your awareness of yourself. So three level worse. Same way, transmission is also same thing, that your presence transmitting something, a knowledge to someone. Your presence, blessing, you're transmitting to someone. Your presence of your kindness, you're transmitting to someone. Or at least your word, a gentle word, a kind word, a specific vocabulary that you choose, it's transmit. Or even how much you say, how little you say, transmitting something. Or that only is depend on your actions. You see, so I think, so that all these teaching practices, technology, I think eventually, slowly, should try to bring us closer to ourselves, not farther away, because we are already so far away.